Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. Good. Hello, people. Welcome to the Pan-African Daily TV. How are you all doing out there, my family on the continent and in the diaspora? It is a warm pleasure to have you here today. Those that are joining us for the first time because of this powerful movement that we have here on the platform today for the first time, I am thanking you on the behalf of all Africans worldwide, the leaders on the continent, the kings, the chiefs, the princes, the queens, all over that are joining the stream to actually experience this biggest movement that have been put on the ground by our elders, our brothers and the sisters in the diaspora, starting from the Senegal, Dakar in 2015, brought down and officially launched in Ghana, Accra in 2018, and then created the New York State branch in 2020. And now we have Baba Jiwe. I really just don't want to miss that name because I love it so much. We have the Commander-in-Chief who is sitting here, and he's going to be presenting this whole big team. They're going to be talking about the history, the aims and objectives, and upcoming projects that are happening around now. What is this movement about? It is the Pan-African Federalist movement, Pan-African Federalist movement in the USA. This is the branch that is addressing or having this conversation with us. We are so grateful and so thankful for the work of our elders and all the freedom fighters and the liberators and the voices and the advocates, the scholars, the experts that are coming every day to educate us and also to showcase, the projects that they've been putting on the ground. Because most often we turn to focus our attention on other activities of foreigners, thinking that Africans themselves cannot do it. What we're doing on the Pan-African Daily TV every day is actually just showing the Africa that we want by Africans doing it themselves and for themselves. So we're so happy to have the Pan-African Federalist movement here with us live in the studio. My name is Dr. Susan, as I told you. On the panel and the technical, we have Tumi Tata. On the continent, our coordinator is PK Kasurim. And on the back yet, we have my daughter, Queen Princess, the PA Naisha Melkan. So thank you so much. I hope you're all seated. You're warmly welcome here. If you have a question, drop it in the comment. But be aware of the fact that we're going to be opening up the lines in case you have a question, direct questions to all the professors and the experts and the teachers and mentors. I don't even know how to qualify them because their biography is so big. If you look at, their profiles and all what they've been doing. So it's not just only the story of a Pan-African Federalist movement that was created in 2015. No, this has been a story from birth that they have been doing. They're coming out to put a structure to say, now it's time for us to give back, to mentor to our young people. It is time for us to go global from the continent to the diaspora and spreading our wings. This is actually a movement that did not start today. This is a calling that started even from birth. Most of them are professors, they're teachers, they're scholars, they're also musicians and artists. And then you also have presenters. Yeah, they've been talking to radios out there on the continent and in the diaspora. What a massive thing that our brothers are doing out there. So let us welcome the Commander-in-Chief, the big guy. I call them always the big guy, our king, Baba Jiwe. Baba Jiwe, welcome to the Pan-African Daily TV.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tata. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, this beautiful, beautiful sunny day here in Brooklyn, the People's Republic of Brooklyn. But I'm very happy to be with you this afternoon so that we can share with your listeners um, what the Pan-African Federalist movement is all about and what type of progress that we have been making since the inception of this movement, which was established, as you said, back in 2015 in the motherland. I am the chairperson or coordinator of the New York State Local Coordinating Committee of the Pan-African Federalist Movement. So as such, New York State Coordinating Committee is targeted to outreach to some 3 million plus Africans in New York State. Um, over 2 million of our African population is actually in the New York City and New Jersey metropolitan area. So having our committee established in New York State puts us at a very advantageous location in terms from which to outreach to our population in New York State. Our New York State committee is operating under a larger umbrella, which is the North American Regional Coordinating Committee. And the North American Regional Committee is now overseeing development of local coordinating committees throughout all of the cities of North America. I'm going to first just give you a brief history of the New York State Committee. Our committee was established just over a year ago, on March 8th of 2020. It was at that time when I first met Brother Jumai. Now, Brother Jumai, to our great benefit here in New York, Brother Jumai is actually the Secretary General of the International Coordinating Committee, which was established in Accra. So, and his involvement goes back 5 years with the movement. So we're very lucky to have Brother Jumai on board because he represents a very full knowledge of the campaign itself, and he's also working directly with us in New York State as one of our key committee members. So with that, I would just like to have Brother Jumai talk a bit about the history of the campaign and what the projection of the campaign really is in terms of the actual establishment of a united African states under one government. Our target for the first Congress to be held is 2023, which gives us roughly 2 more years to have our first pre-Congress. That would represent the first step toward the formulation of a constitution for what will be the United African States. And our target and our goal is to see that the United African States be manifest by the year of 2030. So that's, in a nutshell, this is our objective. So at this point, I would love to just present Brother Jumai and let Brother Jumai give you some more in-depth history about the campaign itself from an international viewpoint. Brother
Okay.
Brother Jumai.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Baba Jue. Thank you, Dr. Susan Tata. Thank you, Brother Asukile Charles. And thank you for your brave listeners who I am watching. They are very active and very engaged in the program. I'm like Baba Chia say, I'm here in the beautiful sun of Princeton, New Jersey, and as the general secretary of the movement and one of the founders. I just want to thank everyone who is listening, and thank you, Sus Doctor, for having us
Thank
on
you.
this program. So the Pan-African Federalist movement, if I could just go back a little bit further, it started really. We are following on the footsteps of prior Pan-African Federalists, and the first one what we know is Marcus Mosiah Garvey. In 1920, at the UNIA convention in New York, which gathered thousands and tens of thousands of Africans, stated that if you want to be part of the UNIA, you have to be you have to accept that the unification of the African state is of utmost urgency. And he wrote a poem that at that time called "Hail the United States of Africa." We are following in his footsteps. One of his followers, not student, but one of his followers was Dr. Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
He came to study here in the US, discovered Garveyism, and then, at the same time also discovered the W.E.D. Boy, went to the Manchester 5th Pan-African Federal Congress, and then from there decided, was called to Ghana to start the movement for the independence, to manage the political party in Ghana. And then he decided that, he just doesn't want to manage a political party. He wants to go to so that is the second. And then you have Sheikh Anta Diop also, who was a very avid advocate for a united African state. And then we have today Teofil Obenga, who is one of the members of our movement and one of the champions. So we have picked up the torch where Kuma and them left it. And but we have a different approach. When we, in 2015 in Dakar, a group of about 20 Pan-Africanists sat down, most of them were actually part of the political party created by Sheikh Anta Diop. We decided that, look, today there is a big problem that is happening before us. There is a big new rush to control Africa, and the scramble, what we call the new scramble for Africa. There is a reality that African people have come to realize today that their countries really can't deliver the promise of independence.
Correct.
Why? And then we just looked at Sheikh Anta, what he did. He said what Kuma said, and we decided that only unification. And also we visited Julius Nyerere's statement in 1997 in Accra, where he said that I was wrong, Kwame Nkrumah was right when he said only unity could save African. Without unity, there's no future for Africa. So based on all that, we said that let's just launch a call to see if there is a critical mass of Africans who might want to be interested in approaching African unity the way that we think it should be approached right now. And this is when we launched the call that I could read if you don't mind here.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So the call says, do you believe that the political unification of the African state is a matter of utmost urgency for Africans on the continent and in the diaspora? Do you agree with Kwame Nkrumah when he stated that it is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity? Divided we are weak, united Africa could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world. Do you think that Sheikh Anta Diop was right when he said, African unity, I feel, will come from the base and develop as an undercurrent to the present political sterility and economic stagnancy rampant in our continent, on our continent? Are you sick and tired of watching Africans being helpless when faced with natural or man-made calamities? Do you believe that being an African ought to be an asset, not a liability? Do you believe in the need for a strong African state that could demand for and expect to get the reparation of the wrongs that were done to Africans throughout slavery and colonialism? And then we said, can you find yourself promoting or working for the political unification of the African state? Those are the questions that we asked, and we launched the movement. Of course, we had massive responses. The initial idea was to organize quickly a Congress.
A Congress.
But because a Congress, in 2016, because we launched it in 2015, February, we were thinking that within a year, we will organize a Congress and then we launch the movement from there. But the response was so massive that we decided maybe it's better to organize this and take more time. So this is when we decided to to organize the movement in 10 regions, 5 on the continent, the traditional 5 regional regions on the continent, and then equally 5 in the diaspora. The regions in the diaspora, it's being Europe, North America, the Caribbean, Latin America, and Asia. We in North America includes Canada and the USA. Latin America include all the countries where it's Latin languages like Spanish and Portuguese and so on and so forth. So, and then we organize these regions in national committees. Every country is a national committee, create a national committee. We have national committees in Senegal, in Cameroon, in Mali, in all over. These national committees, we decided will be the one that will be sending delegates to the Congress. Because we want to hear the voice of the people, not of the intellectual, not of the academic. This is not a political movement. This is a survival movement.
Correct.
We want to hear the people themselves to see, I want my state to be part of this union, because that is what give legitimacy to this federal government. So when we divided that, then we worked hard, and then we held a pre-Congress in Accra, because initially it was only Pan-African, Senegalese Pan-Africanist. We said to ourselves, we need more legitimacy. It has to be a more global, group that leads this movement. This is where the movement was launched officially at the pre-Congress, which was organized December 8 to the 13th, 2018. And we actually organized this event with the Kwame Nkrumah Pan-African Center, which is led by Samiam Nkrumah, the daughter of Dr. Nkrumah.
Correct.
And we organized a joint event, the celebration of the 60th anniversary of this event, 1958, and then the pre-Congress of the Pan-African, the pre-first Pan-African Federalist Congress. And then at that pre-Congress, we issued a declaration, and then we elected an international preparatory committee for the Congress.
Okay.
The idea of the Congress, Dr. Tata, is this. No group of Africans can pretend to have the knowledge of how to mobilize Africans to accelerate the unification. So all those people who really want unity have to come together.
Correct.
This is the piece that was missing with Nkrumah. This is the piece that was missing with Gaddafi when he tried lately. Unity from the top will not happen because the top is not interested. It's going to have to be from the base.
Correct.
For that, we want countries to be represented, not based on their political thinking, but they're based on their attachment to African sovereignty. Because it doesn't matter what political party you belong to. If your country doesn't have the power, the sovereignty, the correct sovereignty to develop its resources, to utilize its resources, then you won't go anywhere. So we want to transcend the political parties so that national delegation will be a combination of all the political parties in the country, all the trade unions, all the civil society organization, and the delegation will be speaking on behalf of the people of the country, not on behalf of the portion of the people of the country. And this committee that was set up has picked up a date after a year and a half of working, 2 years almost. We decided that the date of the Congress will be December 8th to the 22nd, 2023.
2023.
December 8th to the 22nd. And in terms of the venue, we said we're going to launch a call for hosting to the different African countries because it is an African affair. We cannot just pick up one country and say, this is where we're going to do it. No. We're going to ask all the countries, do you want to host this? What are the conditions for hosting and all that? And then we pick up the best offer that we have in order, including the African Union. We're also going to launch a call for candidacy to the African Union too, so that African people, those who believe in the urgency of African unity, could come together, discuss on a plan, And the Pan-African Federalist movement is convinced, as Teofilo Obenga says, 75% of the African youth is today ready for unity. It's just looking for who could lead them.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are convinced that once we hold the Congress, it will not be more than 5 years before we get to the critical mass of states that we need in order to declare the birth of the United African States. And this is why we said this unity could happen by the end of this decade, 2020, 2030. And then added to that, Doctor, is that we have no other choice but unite by then. Let me repeat that. We have no other choice but unite by then, because if we don't, we will be recolonized by that. A most dangerous colonization than colonization by army, because you don't see it. It's legitimized. And this is how white Americans took over the land of the Indian Native Americans here. And that will make us squatters on the land of our ancestors. And we're saying 2020, 30 because if you look the world geopolitical situation, since 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the world is being reorganized between China, between Russia, between all of that. Everyone is trying to get it. And those world political reorganization lasts generally a generation. And the end of 2030 will put us at the end of that generation, of that time frame where reorganization is happening. So we need to unite to beat this deadline. Otherwise, Africa will be divided in Sino-Africa, Euro-Africa, Americano-Africa, and that is happening right before our eyes. The situation in Ethiopia, the situation in the Central African Republic. These are manifestations of this new scramble for Africa. So we believe that today it is not only a wonderful thing to happen, but it's a necessity. It's a survival matter here. So this is where the Pan-African Federalist movement is at.
Thank you very much. I mean, that's very, very informative. I'm getting comments even from the continent that people are saying, hey, this movement, we really just want to know what it's about. Is it global? Where do we have representative in our country? Those are the comments that are coming from the continent. So I'll go back to you, Babajiwe, for you to present your next guest and what he will be talking about.
Yes, thank you, Brother Jumai. One thing I would like to emphasize for you, Dr. Tata, and your listeners is that one of the underlying principles in our campaign is to reach out to all of the other active Pan-Africanist-minded organizations and movements and individuals that are now in existence and have been in existence for some time now. There are many of us who have been working hard toward African liberation and African unification. So we are reaching out to really have a mutual support system. What we're trying to really do and inspire is a sense of mutual support for all of the movements that are committed to accomplishing the unification of Africa by whatever means necessary. So we have our program. There are other existing programs afoot, and we're reaching out to form tighter coalitions with those other movements. So we will be holding additional town hall meetings along those lines. We had one town hall meeting, that was our first one for the year, on March 14th. And on March 14th, that town hall meeting was our outreach to African organizations, specifically in New York State. But we are reaching out to everyone across North America, because we are under the North American umbrella. So we're looking to encourage people that may not necessarily be in New York physically, but are from New York and they happen to be now in the other states. So we're trying to reach out to these individuals and have them establish a nucleus of operation in their particular state of location. You see, this way we're both focusing on New York State as well as the rest of the cities in North America. So it's a double-edged sword that we're trying to utilize in terms of outreach and expanding support for the mission. The other thing I'll just emphasize is that this is a grassroots movement. So we are looking for boots on the ground that are ready to commit themselves to expanding the push toward the unification of Africa under the United African States. The other thing that Brother Jua did mention, and I just want to emphasize, is that one of the big differences between our campaign and earlier campaigns is that the United African States will include a member state that is represented by Africans in the diaspora. And this is a key element of the campaign itself, is that this is not just unifying those states in the continent of Africa, but also unifying people of African descent in the diaspora. And that body of the population will be represented fully in the United African States as a member state, a diasporic member state of the United African States. And that's a key element of our campaign. So Brother Jemai laid it out very well for us. Now, how are we reaching out? What we're asking for is on several levels. Number one, anyone who is interested in helping and moving us forward with the campaign, they can become a member of a committee, a local coordinating committee. The underlying objective of that committee is to spread the word about the campaign and to build further support for the campaign. Now, some of the work is really one just of spreading the word that there is such a movement as the Pan-African Federalist movement. And then that we're looking out for people who are prepared to commit some real time and effort in establishing a coordinating committee in their particular location and building further on our organization and outreach. So that's basically the way it is. Now, the New York State Committee, as I said, was established March 8th of 2020. We started off with 7 members, and Brother Jamar was one of the members of that committee. We now are a 17-member committee, and we've established a very dedicated group of people that are now working on the campaign with us. Brother Asukile, was involved with this movement prior to the formation of the New York State Committee. And then it just turns out that he recycled himself back into the committee once there was a New York State coordinator. Brother Asukile is a long-time soldier in the movement. He is a protege of Dr. Leonard Jeffries for a long time.
Yes.
So Brother Asukile he's just a very active and dedicated member of our committee, along with a host of other movements and activities that he's involved with. Now, Brother Asukile, he is essentially our main and top field organizer. So he's bringing a lot of people in. He is the one who set up this meeting with you today, and he continues to be a very valuable resource in our committee. So I want to give thanks to both Brother Jamai as well as Brother Asukile for making my job so much easier and enjoyable. So if I may, Brother Asukile, can I now pass it on to you, and you can tell us a bit more about what's going on the ground and what's coming up, Brother Asukile. You seem to be muted. Can you hear me, Brother Asukile? Are you muted? We're having a problem with his audio.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me now?
Okay,
can you hear
good.
me?
Yes, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
hear.
we can.
No. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, do you?
Oh, okay. First, greetings to everyone. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. May I have permission to speak, Elder?
Please do.
Okay. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to everyone. I want to say, first of all, thank you, Dr. Tata, for having us on. We tried for Thursday, and I'm happy that we were able to make it happen today. I just wanted to come on. Well, first, let me make a response to. I see some notes in the chat on the side, and for those of you I saw somebody mention for the UK. I'm going to be giving the contact information for all of us. But for those of you in the international area that are not in New York State, I'm going to have you reach out to Baba Jumai. And when I give that contact, have your pens ready to write that down. But I'm here as the chief liaison for the New York State Coordinating Committee. And now I've been drafted to be the deputy chairperson, I guess is the title, Baba Jiwe. So we just want to invite everybody to come and join us tomorrow. Tomorrow's town hall is dedicated to the youth. And so we really, for us youth, are those 35 under, because some people are saying, well, that doesn't apply to me. Well, yes, it applies to you if you're 35 and under. There is no youth without elders, without those of us in the mid-range, without the children. So the whole African family is invited, but so this is an opportunity for them to voice their concerns. What do they see the future looking like? What do they want as African? You know, what are the concerns about building families and relationships and being entrepreneurs and such? And so we want to hear what the young people have to say. We have some entertainment, of course, planned for them, so it's not extra heavy. But we want them to feel welcome to come and join us and give us, let us hear their voices. And then we also just want to present to them what the Pan-African Federalist movement is about and what it's doing and how they could join us. One of the things I wanted to add to what's already been said about the PAFM is it's not a organization per se for organization's sake. Like some organizations exist and they've been they're over a century long old rather. The UNIA, the NAACP. It's not that type of organization. The PAFM's sole purpose is to bring about a united African states. And once that process is underway, the PAFM will dissolve. So we're not going to be on here trying to create something that lasts forever. We have a particular focus and intent. Now, some people might say, because our goal is to have a united African states by 2030. Brother Charles, Brother Asukili, Baba Jiwe, what is this nonsense? That's not going to happen. Well, I just want to remind people that sometime in 1770, a few, as Dr. Jeffries calls, colonial slave master bastards sat down in a cramped room in Philadelphia, and by the end of the summer, they drafted the Declaration of Independence. And a few years later, they had the independence from England. Somewhere in France, in what was the 1800s, some peasants got fed up with the aristocracy and they staged the French Revolution. It did not take 10. It did not take 10 years. It did not take 20 years. It did not take 500 years. Our revolution for our people, a revolution of our minds and spirits, and freeing our land is long overdue. And all we have to do is have the commitment and resolve to make it happen. It can't happen by 2030.
Correct.
I wanted to address one thing that was said. Baba Jumai said that it wasn't really political, but I'm a student of Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Everything is political. Politics, economics, and culture go hand in hand. The difference is for us is that our culture has to have a different ethic. It has to have a
Correct.
different morality. It has to have a different philosophy, an African philosophy. And, and what does that mean? So the people, what is the African philosophy for us? We have to look at that. It's a belief in complementarity. It's a belief in, for instance, using more than you need to provide for yourself and your community. Whereas
Correct.
capitalism is taking all until you can't take anymore and destroy the natural pattern as it is to accumulate some wealth. The African pattern is Ubuntu. The African thought process, rather, is Ubuntu. You are because I am, because we
Yeah.
are.
Ashe.
Right. That's African thinking. That's the type of government that we need. That's the type of political process that we need. Politics, as Dr. J says, is the management of the economics. And culture is the bond that cements all of that. So we need African politics, economics, and culture. We can't continue with these colonial machinations that were created just to manage the resources and exploit the people for European powers. It's time for a different day for African people. We should
Correct.
control where we live, just like every other ethnic group and nation controls where they live. So that's what this is about. It's about us unifying so that we control our resources, so that we can provide our own jobs, create our own businesses for our children and for their generations, whether that's on the continent, whether that's here in the U.S., whether that's in places like Haiti that's being devastated, whether that's in places like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and so forth. We need to control our thing, but we need a power base. And for African people, our African power base should be the continent. And then from there, we can negotiate and work with other ethnic groups and nations and defend ourselves. But we can't have that until we control what's ours. Africa is ours. It's in our blood. Our blood is in it. And we must have Africa free, family.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of the African continental pie. Everybody. The Chinese want a piece. They're in Djibouti. They're in Madagascar and all these other places creating a new Silk Road. The Portuguese want a piece. The French want a piece. I was just reading the other day how the French have used some mercenaries and other means to control African elections. We know that since COVID, 5 or 6 African leaders have been pushing for unification, have been killed. So it's a serious thing that we're talking about. It's a serious thing that we're talking about because they know once they lose Africa, their whole system goes to pieces.
Now,
So we have to be prepared to be serious, and we need some serious brothers. We need some serious young people, and we need some serious sisters like you, Dr. Tata, because your sisters are the ones that keep with the culture. You are the keepers of our culture. You keep us in line. You maintain our virtues. So we need some strong sisters. And every time I come on with these 2 Babas, I always push for the sisters. And we need some young people. The young people have the energy and the vigor to follow through and come up with even better things than myself and these 2 older gentlemen with me can think of. We need their vigor, we need their enthusiasm, we need their physical strength to get out there and reach out to our people. And so I'm asking all of you to join us tomorrow. The Zoom link is on the Zoom meeting ID and passcode are on the flyer. And if you want to, if you're in the international realm, I want you to reach out to Baba Jumai Faye and hope you have your pens ready. 609-216-6933. That's 609-216-6933. And his email is African Federalist with a T at the end. AFRICANFEDERALIST list@gmail.com. That's if you're in the international realm, and then he can forward you to the appropriate person in your region. If you want to join the New York State Committee, you can reach out to Baba Jiwe. And Baba Jiwe's email is jiwepad@gmail.com. I'll say that again, jiwepad as in dog at gmail.com. And his phone number is 347-683-5383. You could also reach out to myself. My email is Charles V as in Victory Mitchell with two L's at the end at gmail.com. I don't know if you need me to spell that out. That's CHARLES V as in Victory MITCHEL at gmail.com. You could call me at 917-561-3581. That's 917-561-3581. And as well as calling me if you're interested in joining the New York State Committee, I'm also, until recently, my title was Chief Liaison. So I'm looking for individuals like my mentor, Dr. Jeffries, and Brother Small, and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, the Theophilo Benga types. I'm looking for those who are known in the African community to become champions of this movement. I'm looking for local and big celebrities that want to be ambassadors for the movement, that believe that Africa should be self-governing and self-controlled. And I'm also looking for organizations that want to work in coalition, because this is really a coalition more so than an organization. It's a coalition of individuals and organizations that want Africa united by 2030. And so if you want to, as a coalition or champion or ambassador, if you're interested in collaborating and being part of the movement, please call me for that reason. Baba Jiwe, did I miss anything?
I'd just like to clarify a little something. In terms of the political nature of our campaign, the reason Brother Jemai said that this was not political is because in the process of expanding the word and getting support, we have a basic precept that as an organization, we will not get involved directly with any issues that relate to political disputes or political competition or political points of view. That our position, because we are a coalition building operation, we're taking a neutral position politically when it comes to the political affairs between various member states and the like. So that's what Robert G. Way was saying. When it's not political,
Absolutely.
we're intentionally trying to not be political, just to keep the coalition approach intact. And that is not to say that as an individual, one cannot be involved politically one way or another. But as an organization, the PAFM is taking a neutral position politically. And this
absolutely. I wanted to say something to clarify.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. When I say we're not political, I failed to say we're not politically partisan.
Right, that's it.
Political partisanism. We're not politically partisan. Because as far as the Pan-African Federalist movement is concerned, being politically partisan in an African country is fighting over how the crumbs left behind by the imperialists shall be divided among us. We are not here to fight over how the crumbs should be divided. We are here to seize the cake which belongs to us, so we don't have to fight over these crumbs. Political instability on the continent is fundamentally based on the fact that we are all fighting over the crumbs, whether it is economically speaking, politically speaking, or militarily speaking, security speaking. We are only fighting over the crumbs that are left behind. This is why there is not enough for everyone. This is why when you have president, they come as intellectuals, great intellectual, but they still want to stay in power because a group of behind them, behind him or her, are see their livelihood in their share of the crumbs left behind. There is not enough for everyone. But if we unite the African states, there will be, and take back the cake, then there will be plenty of jobs. The government will not be the biggest employer. You go to most African countries, the government is the biggest employer because money is too expensive to create a building that is, live alone a building that compete on the international market. So all of those problems. So what we in the Pan-African Federalist Movement is saying that, yes, we could have our differences of opinions on how to share the cake. If you want to be part of that, that's okay. But at the same time, you have to have your eyes on the prize. And that prize is the cake. Let's take the control of the cake and stop and stop fighting over the division of these crumbs. And this is what I meant by we're not. So in terms of policies, we do not get involved in criticizing, condemning, or condoning any policy of a particular political party on the continent or government. We don't. What we are focused on is that to take everyone, whatever political party you belong to, whatever trade union, whatever your opinions are different, or religion, whatever, to come and hold hand and say enough is enough. We need to unite now in order to take back our destiny.
Correct.
And the other, thank you, brother. The other thing, and brother Asukile did mention this at the outset, and that was that the Pan-African Federalist movement is not intended to be a movement for the end of time. That our role effectively will be ended when the United African States is in fact a reality. And at that point, there's no longer a need for movement because we will have accomplished our goal. And at that point, the Pan-African Federalist movement will basically dissolve as a movement. We will have succeeded in seeing the manifestation of the African States.
As a matter of fact, once the United African States are declared, and the person, hopefully a woman, who will be the first president of the United African States is sworn in office, that day we will take the date of the Congress, the third Congress, for the dissolution of the movement. On that day.
Okay.
The date of the third Congress for the dissolution of the movement, because it's done, its life is done, that it's a campaign machine building coalition, basically, for the United African States. And I wanted to also clarify here, Dr. Tata. People hear us talking about the United African States, in French, État Africain Uni. There is a big difference between the United States of Africa and the United African States. We are not campaigning for the United States of Africa. We're campaigning for the United African States because the states that we are aiming at are, yes, most of them are located on the continent, but there are others like Haiti, like Jamaica, like Barbados. There are sovereign states of African people that are not on the continent of Africa.
Correct.
So these states will be part of the United African States. The second, what Baba Jiwe said,
somebody that's made the background.
The second thing that Baba Jiwe said is about the diaspora. We believe that the citizenship to the United African States is going to be a right to any African, wherever you may find yourself on earth. Like John Henry Clark said, it's not where the boat dropped you that determines your Africanity. It's where the boat took you from. As long as the boat took you from Africa, you will have access to the citizenship, and wherever you are, you will be represented. Like Africans in North America, in the United States, will be represented by senators and representatives. Africans in the Caribbean will be represented by senators and representatives, because they will be full citizens of the United African States.
Absolutely.
And that's why I wanted to clarify a little.
Good. I just want to, this is I think what we've been waiting for. The, there are a lot of the movements here, and like I heard your call out there, we from the Pan African Daily TV have the context, the organization, and a structure that is like a shopping bag for all Pan African movements, because we host them, because it's also the TV for Pan Africanism and Pan African movements, be them political structures or university or whatever. We have that database, and the organization, the Africa We Want, is just that platform that is connecting all, not just connecting all, but having the members register their organization so that exactly something you're talking about, the Congress, that we can enter and shop and say, okay, we have this movement here, we have this ones here, they're represented. If you want to organize a Congress, then you already know we're sending out invitation to all this. That it makes a lot of sense, because when we started, it was the same challenge. Now, because of the fire that caught every African, conscious African, these young people, like Brother Asukile said, are just so dying. Or, in the quotation that you said, that Professor Obenga said, 75% of Africans are awoke. I can guarantee that. I can lay down everything on it, because we're with them every day. And these movements are growing up like mushrooms. You have there are groupings. And the first time we had Professor James here, he said that, build groups. And that 2020, there are many groups just coming up. So I think the Pan-African Federalist movement, like what you're saying, you already have these groups. So, but what was lacking was a movement like this that would coordinate and put a structure to these already existing groups, not to create something new like what you're saying, but something that is going to be that. We also have, apart from this other system, the United Kingdoms of Africa that are coming up with the kings and the queens. And also, this is a structure that would merge all. And they're also going global. Yeah. And so the most important thing that we have achieved as a people of Africa is the awakeness, and this groupings is what has been missing in the past. Now we have the group. It doesn't matter whether they're just youth movement or youth organization, but they are groupings, because with these groupings, we can then organize a structure on which we bring all of them and start selecting which ones. Now, even the youths in Europe, they're already grouping themselves automatically. And so that wind of change, like you were saying, is already here. And it's not like you say it's a necessity, it's a must. Now, I saw a comment in the chat, one commentator saying, did you mean 2030? Of course, 2030 is that deadline. You know why? Because look at these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2063. Agenda 2063 of African Union is telling us about 2063. And you go to the United Nations Agenda 2030, which is automatically the European Agenda 2030 for Africa. Go through the goals and those agendas, and then you ask, what is the difference? So we even putting out a structural agenda for 2063, but the partners or the same people, they already have 2030. So I'm absolutely convinced we can make it in that 2030. Because if Europe already sees 2030 and we are saying 2063, come on, give me a break. Are we joking? We can make it, because the young people, be it on the continent or in the diaspora, they already got it. All we just need to do, and that's why I'm really thanking this movement, is that organization, that structure, the structure to just put them on the elders to say, we are already here. That one was missing. And so people keep thinking, oh, we're just creating. No, we have to create. We ought to. The fact that they're creating the groups is already the consciousness. And every young African wants to do something for its continent. It's just the reverse. We're hosting all the topics, not just only about Pan-Africanism, but the mindset. You can see even people that always thought, oh, I have to go to Europe by all means. Now they're saying, what? And if I even no, I stay on the continent. That's already the change of mentality that we're talking about. So we're not neglecting any single aspect of whatever things we are doing. And believe me, even the leaders that we're talking about, they're also getting organized. Who doesn't want a united African state? Every African with a DNA of Mother Africa has it. And so I really thank you. And I'm so honored. And I want to give a shout out to Brother Charles, who actually brought, first of all, due to our connection, this a movement to say, oh, sister, don't look anywhere. We're already putting something. Because even the continent keeps saying until the Americas, the diaspora in the Caribbean, in the Brazil, in the Haiti, in the, come to organize us. We're still under colonized. And so we already knew that the wind would come from, from the diaspora to sweep over the continent. The continent is already hijacked, right? And so it's just the time. And I really want to thank you. One thing that I would like us to do, you were already sharing that contact there. For all the viewers, if you miss those contacts, either the telephone number of Baba Jiwei or Brother Charles, who is actually the chief liaison, please drop a message on our WhatsApp. We're going to put you in contact with Brother Asukele, and he can be it from the continent or the diaspora. If you missed the telephone number, if you missed the email, if you missed even the flyer, we're going to drop it in our chat tomorrow or on the YouTube. You can download it to find out all this and any information that you want to get about it. Now, we've been talking and we've been hearing this very interesting thing. I would just like you guys to, to go and give us a round of actually who you are before being here. What have you been doing? Which movements have you been in? I mean, just to know a little bit about you, because I know already, and I'm just anxious that everybody knows that the team that we're having in the Pan-African, the Federalist movement is not just a talk. It's a long walk to get here. So I will just give it back to Baba Jiwei, and you go around with your team.
Thank you, Sister Tata. Well, one thing I would like to say is that, one's perspective has a lot to do with what is real. And what by that I mean to say is that, on one hand, you could think of all of our differences in that we have so many different organizations and we have so many different cultures within our African communities. But the other perspective is to view this diversity, this vast diversity of African peoples is really one of our greatest strengths. We're trying to really capitalize on that diversity and bring all of that richness together, moving in the same direction. So that's the underlying concept behind our coalition building and outreach. As far as my personal background, I am a musician. I am a retired mechanical engineer. I ran an engineering consulting practice in New York City for 20 years. So I'm a businessman, or at least I'm a retired businessman. Now that I'm retired, of course, I have much more time to devote to my real heart work, which is liberation of my people and my music. And so this is why I'm so happy to be able to be in a position to play a very active role in this campaign. I go way back. You may not realize it, but I just turned 80 in October.
Oh.
So I go way back in terms of the Black Power movement and the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. And when I was coming up as a teenager, these were the kinds of movements that were very much afoot. I actually was at the March on Washington back in the 60s when Dr. King made his fantastic speech. So I go back to even the civil rights movement and being an activist during that time. And in a very real sense, it was the civil rights movement that gave me my entree into the world of engineering and allowed me to establish a successful engineering company in New York City. So I'm a direct beneficiary of some of the gains of the civil rights movement. But it's just I'm blessed to be healthy enough and committed to seeing this this United African States become a reality. And I sincerely, sincerely believe that it will happen within my lifetime.
Oh, yes. We
With
all agree.
brothers like Brother Jemai and Brother Asukile helping me, I'm very confident that we're going to be successful. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say right now. Just thank you for having this platform, and I look forward to possibly being with you again as we move forward with our movement. And I just dropped the mic now for the other brothers.
Brother Jimei?
My microphone is right. So, uh, my I guess that my life is a little bit. Everyone's life is complicated, but I was born in Senegal about 65 years ago, and I grew up. That's just to put it away this way. I grew up in a family that was a landowner family. You know, ownership by the fire, which is called laman in the culture, which means like the real, considered real owner. And I grew up around my friends living in poverty, and that frustrated me a lot. So I decided that I want to be a political activist, a leftist political activist, and I started my life as in high school as a political activist. But then in 1983, Thomas Sankara took power in Burkina Faso. And I decided, I was studying, I was a veterinarian student and a student organizer, leader, a student leader. And in 1984, I get expelled from the veterinarian school for organizing students to fight for their rights, but 1 or 2 years shy of my doctorate. So 83, Thomas Sankara took power. 84, I get expelled. 85, I decided, you know what? We talk about revolution. Let me go experience revolution myself and see. So I left Senegal in March, went and spent 2 years with Thomas Sankara, but in March 1985 and May of 1987. And I experienced the limits, really the limits of our state right there with Thomas Sankara, because despite his will, his determination to get Burkina Faso out of poverty, we noticed the limits of a non-viable state. This is not just you can't just take power. It's not enough to take power. You have to have the capacity, the type of sovereignty that could allow you to develop these states. There are a few examples, like you just said, the staring example I will give is that when we were doing our budget development, 5-year development plan in 1987, at the end of the plan, we realized that only 25% of the resources are available to us. 75% we have to get them from somewhere else. And then we laughed and said, we are revolutionaries managing a neocolonial state here, And this is where really Kwame Nkrumah and Sheikh Anta's teaching got into me, because I realized now why Kwame Nkrumah was saying Africa must unite. And then I came to the US and decided to do a doctorate in political science. I did my doctorate in political development strategy and Pan-Africanism in the US, and to understand what is wrong with this effort to unite Africa. Why didn't they work? Why didn't Nkrumah fail? He didn't fail. But why didn't he act? So this is, and when I arrived here, I got involved with the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee. At its infancy, when we just were creating it with the companion of Malcolm X, Peter Bailey was one of them, and others. And then I get involved in many other Pan-African organizations and so on. And then in 1998, I decided that I would like to have Abdoulaye Wade to get to power, because my idea was that Abdoulaye Wade in power, he does 7 years, and then he leaves power and goes and work with Mandela to work for African unity. That will certainly be a winning ticket. Because what I have realized is that the blockage was that Kwame Nkrumah was accused of being a megaloman, someone who wants to just control our half. But if Mandela, who decided to not run again, Wad, who will decide not to run again, these people will show African that it's not that power that they are running for. They're running for the interest.
Correct.
But unfortunately, Abdoulaye Wade didn't go to the direction where I wanted. And I waited, and then we decided finally to launch this call to say, you know what, why not try? Why not try ourselves? You can't just wait for other people to do things that you think in your head. Why don't you try it yourself?
Correct.
And this is where we drafted the call at the library of the Princeton University to start this movement. And get a hold of a Pan-African school with Sharon Tujo. And this is how we got to where we are here today.
Respect. Too much respect. Brother Sukule. Wow. Brother Charles.
You go.
Brother Sukule.
Yes, I was muted from the studio side.
All right.
That's a tough crowd to follow. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I don't know why there's a delay in switching off the mute. But oh goodness. Start. I guess I could start as a student. Well, let me step back. I'll start with my start. My mother and my grandmother were strong Black women. They didn't necessarily say African, but when they said Black, they meant African. My grandmother was always and funny enough, we used to call her Nana. So even though we didn't know much about our roots in Africa, we still was reaffirming our roots every time we call her by her nickname, Nana, Nana. And she truly was a Nana in the Queen Mother sense and in the chief sense. She is the person in our family that knew all the connections, who was whose child, who was whose brother and sister, and where in the root, going back up to my great grandfather, where they were in relation to my great grandfather's generation and what preceded that. So she was very much, I guess you would say, the Jelle of my family. And my mother, she was also very staunch. She was very active in our community. She was a part of 100 Black women in the New York area. She was always in PTA and other things in relation to myself and my sister. And going back to and I'm gonna say their names because I want to. And Fudishi always tells us that we want to honor our ancestors. There's 4 great things that we should do. We should always speak their names. We should always exalt and maintain their works. We should continue any unfinished works, and we should build. What was the last one? That we should build things to honor them. So I want to speak about my grandmother's name, Beatrice LeBrew, then married was Beatrice Beaton. And I want to say Ibaye to her spirit. And I want to say Ibaye to the spirit of my mother, Brenda Joyce Mitchell. And her single form before she was married, she was Beaton. So I want to speak those 2 names of those Queen mothers. And my father, Charles Vernon Mitchell Jr., and so forth. John Beaton, James LeBrew, my great grandfather, my grandmother's father. I want to speak those names so that we can remember. And I want the young people here to do the same thing often in your house to your children. Yes. Speak the names of your ancestors so that they remember. Finish their incomplete works. Do whatever you need to do if they weren't quite right on this side. Do what you need to do for the spiritual peace so that they can move on in peace and improve to the growth of your families. This is what we need to do. This is what it means to be African, to speak those names, to finish their uncompleted tasks, to help them on that side as they help us on this side. So I want to say that. So my grandmother took us to NAACP. Myself and my sister, my brother wasn't born yet when we were teenagers, and signed us up. She didn't ask us if we wanted to be members. She took us to the NAACP, and so we became members of the NAACP. And then when I was in college, I was very
What was
active
that?
in the
NWNCP. What is that, Brother Charles? What is the appellation for?
National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It's
Okay, because
founded
the
by
people
the
working from the government,
initially
they
out
ask.
of the Niagara movement. Yes. It's founded by W.E.B. Du Bois and a few others from that generation. Initially as the Niagara movement, where they met in Niagara Falls and they decided to create the organization, which inspired other organizations, by the way. The ANC in South Africa is inspired by the NAACP. And so there's a lot of cross pollination in our diaspora. And if we understand that properly, we really understand how much we are one, because we have always inspired and supported each other in our struggles, whether it's here in America, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's with other organizations like SWAPO, whether it's with Maurice Bishop and his revolution. In fact, Baba Jumai mentioned the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee, of which I am now a current member. The Malcolm X Commemoration Committee was founded by Herman Ferguson and Yuri Kochiyama and Baba Jumai and Brother Zaid Muhammad and a few others to help us to remember the legacy of Malcolm. This is coming out of the 90s when everybody was wearing the X caps and the X t-shirts and talking about Malcolm X and playing his videos. But the MXCC was created because they felt that the message, the real message of Malcolm and his legacy was being redefined as civil rights instead of human rights, instead of Black nationalism. So it was formed to spread to our youth and continue the real message of Malcolm and continue his legacy, and also to continue the legacy of his, what we call Tiger Cubs, those who were in prison, those who are still in prison, like Mumia, like what's our other Baba's name? Kasise Siddiqui's father, Kamal Siddiqui, and others. The MXCC was, and I'm a member, as I said, of that. Was we have annual political prisoner dinners. We had youth outreach and essay contests for youth on what is Malcolm. But to go back to why I mentioned that is Herman Ferguson, who was for a time a political prisoner, who's now an ancestor, Ibaye. Herman Ferguson was in Guyana working in Maurice Bishop's government. So he's an African American with Southern roots that went down to Guyana and worked in the Guyana government. He was in the military, and then he was also, I think, the head of the Secretary of Education, if I'm not mistaken. So we've always supported each other's struggle and movements. And so we need our young people to understand that so that it can continue. But going back to me now, I was in college. I was active in the movement to keep in CUNY, the City University of New York, to keep tuition low. Coming from a history of CUNY in the 60s and before that, CUNY was free for everybody that wanted to go. And this is how several other ethnic groups were able to create a new reality for themselves. But when Black folks started protesting and demanding more inclusion in the college campuses, then a few years later, they started implementing tuition in the City University of New York. So my generation knows in the late 80s and 90s, we fought to keep the tuition low because we understood that a few $100s here and there could make or break somebody's reality as far as being able to go to school and continue to get a degree. And so I was involved in that. And then from that, we moved into the 90s. And for a brief time, I was working with the folks that were trying to keep the Audubon Ballroom from being destroyed and turned into a biomedical center. And so that group was what we call the December 12th movement. And I wasn't active in terms of the leadership of it, but I was one of the young people out there marching with them when they marched all the way from 125th Street all the way up to 158th Street and Broadway to stand in front of the Audubon Ballroom, which is now the El Haj Malik and Betty Shabazz Educational Cultural Center. So, and from that, I was at the time I was a student part time, and I was working part time at a store called Lord and Taylor's here in New York. And so I worked in the training department, and so I was able to uh, go in the room because I used to put together the training manuals and everything, and I could kind of do that in isolation. We had classrooms, so I would bring my little radio in the room while I was putting together packets. I would listen to the Gary Burge, Imhotep Gary Burge show on WLIB. And then one day he had this uh, brilliant professor on, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. And Dr. Leonard Jeffries was just like everything that I had learned prior to then, listening to, watching the Like It Is TV show, watching black TV shows with my grandmother, and all the information that I had to that point. Everything that he was saying was just gelling, all of that. Everything I learned from listening to Malcolm, everything was just gelling to that. And he had at the time an African community education or 50-week community class after regular school hours at Black Studies and City College, and the rest they say is history. And from that was in 1990, and here I am today, still working with Dr. Jeffries, now a son of Africa, now a member of MXCC, and now the chief liaison of the Pan African Federalist movement. And while I'm on it, while I'm thinking, I just wanted to also put out for PAFM a couple of save the dates for the family. So I want you to mark your calendars for August the 15th. We're going to have a function dedicated particularly to African women. The details are still in the logistics, but we definitely understand that there is no movement forward without our African women. So we are going to dedicate our next town hall on August the 15th to African women. And then following that, I believe, and Baba Jumai and Jiwe could correct me, our next function will be on November 21st. So we want you all to mark your calendars. Save that date. Don't plan anything. Don't get, if your boo wants to get married on that day, say, no, honey, we can't do that. We have to do the town hall unless we're going to get married during the town hall. Hey, we can do that too. Well, August 15th is for the sisters, and November 21st, we're still working out the details, but save those two dates, family, and I'm sure we'll be back on Pan African Daily TV to talk about those as we get closer to the date.
Sure.
But what else? Oh, I also wanted to, because next week is May the 19th, I want to invite everybody to a virtual session. Every year on May 19th being Malcolm X's birthday, as a member of the Sons of Africa and in support of the Malcolm's organization, the Organization of Afro-American Unity. They've had every year, started by his sister Ella, after his death. On his birthday, we go up and we have a pilgrimage to Malcolm, where Malcolm is buried in Ferncliff Cemetery. And we have a ceremony that is usually very well attended with hundreds of people. But because we're in COVID lockdown, we have to limit who could go there. So myself and a few others will go there to continue the ceremony, but we will be live streaming it on Facebook. And so I want to encourage everybody to go to my Facebook page, Asukile Mitchell, Asukile, and then Mitchell, or Ricardo Parker, Ricardo Parker, and it's in the events page. It's an events page rather on either of our pages. You could be able to see the live stream, so you can still participate, even though you can't go up with us this year. But we want to make sure that the public has access to us as we continue to pay our annual tribute to our shining Black Prince, Malcolm X, whose type of leadership we need more of in these days and times, and which I can only imagine what the United African States would be like with a few more Malcolms and Thomas Sankaras. I got to make sure I put this up because folks might see me in a T-shirt and say, well, why is he in a T-shirt when everybody else has on their African garb? Because I had to I was looking for a shirt to put on under my dashiki, but when I saw this, I said, no, I have to wear the Capitan today. So I'm representing for the spirit of Sankara, the spirit of Malcolm, the spirit of Betty Shabazz, the spirit of Queen Mother Moore, the spirit of John Henry Clark. We representing for those spirits. The spirit of Dr. Yosef Ben Yakin and the spirit of Asa Hilliard. We representing for those spirits. The spirits of Shashi McIntyre, the spirits of Nanny of the Maroons, the spirits of Nzinga, the spirits of Imhotep, the spirit of Akhenaten. We must represent for our ancestors. There's been too much work for us done for us to be here and survive, but we have to move beyond survival. We have to move back to where we were thriving as African people. So I'm going to encourage everybody again to support the work of the PAFM with your organizations, through your individual work. And if we all do a part, it doesn't take, you don't have to uproot your whole entire life. If you just do a small part, whatever you could do, whether it's making copies, whether it's handing out flyers, whether it's shooting out emails or text message to your friends and family. It's not magic. It's a science to it. And if we all do our small part, then the load becomes that much lighter. And once we all get involved, there's no way they can shut us down, because we're on the right path. God is with us. Our ancestors are with us. The spirits that support the work of the Creator is with us, whether you call it Luas, Visha, Abosun, Netchers, or Netchuts. They're all with us. They're just waiting for us to tap into what they have for us. And Kwame Nkrumah, somebody said, I represent the spirit of Kwame Nkrumah. Indeed. Indeed. And Lumumba and so on.
Right. You talked about May 19th. That is Wednesday. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think even why not? We're going to stream it also live on the Pan African Daily TV. And I saw Brother Reef said something. Why don't we make these days a national day? So it's also necessary that we start thinking about these heroes, and we could commemorate a national day. I mean, we go celebrating some crazy days that we don't even belong, that we don't even know. And what about our heroes? So probably you should think about that, Brother Mitchell.
It is separated. It's just not formally recognized. Our people are not waiting for the cracker to give us a holiday. We've been doing it. People have been all over the country. In Omaha, Nebraska, there's functions for Malcolm. In Philadelphia, there's functions for Malcolm. On the West Coast, there's functions for Malcolm. Our people are self-determined. They try to make it seem like we don't know what's going on. We know what's going on. Our people have been celebrating Malcolm for years. It's just not been broadcast in the extent like a King federal holiday has been.
Okay, so should I just go on? Should we just go on and dedicate this day, the national day, for it? Because it's all started with us. Maybe in the diaspora, yes, but I'm talking about we're connecting the continental Africans. If we come up with this flyer, Monday is the national day for Malcolm X, and then we stream this event live. We're gonna start picking it up every time. I mean, we're joining and commemorating all the heroes, with him. What about that?
That sounds good to me. We could work it out. Brother Smalls is the takes the lead in the annual pilgrimage, and Brother Small well, James Small. So there's possibly something that could be done. We're going to use Facebook, because that's what we usually use the app to get the word out about it. And so
but we'll connect your Facebook. It's very easy. We'll connect your Facebook as destination on the Pan African, so it takes it along. So that's what we're going to work. Yeah.
Okay, that's excellent.
Okay.
That'll be excellent.
Good. I mean, it's excellent to have you here, and even just to know your backgrounds. It was very necessary, because sometimes we see our elders, we're talking to our youth, we're addressing them, we don't know how far they've come. And I want to get back to the Commander-in-Chief, Baba Jiwe. Baba Jiwe, happy, I don't know how to say happy birthday, but 80 years is, like you said, a gift. But I think your ancestors knew that you haven't delivered. And the reason why you're still here was actually to get this to the step where they want. And so even if it's going to take 100, 120, if you don't deliver, just know that you're going to stay here. So you have to make a decision. So we congratulate you, Baba. We salute you so much for your engagement and your commitment. And You know, Baba Jume, I mean, this is something. Being with Thomas Sankara, we never had that privilege to even just see someone alive that would tell us the true story that I was with him and what I've been doing. I mean, this is awesome. This is wonderful. This is history that we're passing on. And I'm really grateful and I'm thankful. Why? Because the generation of today, there's a lot of miscommunication. You see, even young people just talking about, oh, Black Americans, this, that. They have no clue. They have no idea the things that you have made possible for even Africans globally to be seen the way they are seen. They have no idea. And like King Bongane said, we are apologizing. We will continue to apologize and ask for this forgiveness of ignorance. Too much ignorance between us. And we don't want to get that focus. We don't want to be contaminated. Every single Black person on the continent today, I'm talking even about Europe where I'm sitting. If a German will even look at a Black person, they will first of all, if they know you're from America, then you even have the first respect. Talk less of continent, yeah? And so, because there's just too much work that has been laid down, from the Malcolm X, from the Martin Luther Jr., from the Harriet Tubman, in all these ancestors, yeah, even from the latest celebrity ancestors that we know, Sisi, and all of them. Now, the African is seen in that light with a lot of respect. If today our continental brothers even get a visa to come and study in the Americas, and you even have the possibility to study, is because the people that fought just to get the freedom of education, that was not even existing. That was not even existing at all. There are a lot of lives that were laid down before you even come and work until they could even recognize you. You know, and these are the things that King Bongane was saying. This sorry is not just about, it is too much ignorance to say something was laid down. There's some price, there's blood that was gone, just also like the continent as well. So we're thanking you when we bring back this feedback and this long walk from what you're coming. It gives us a more understanding and more respect to your engagement, to all what you've been going through. You could have been taking those bullets. You were marching in secondary schools, and we've seen a lot of these cases just gone down. So you would have been an ancestors now. So we thank our ancestors for protecting, keeping you, and may the spirit of my heart and all that went before us continue to guide us with this love and forgiveness and moving ahead as one people. Yeah, irrespective of our challenges. I just want to give a one round again to end up. What is it that we expect? Brother Asikle will go onto the calendar, you and I, and so you can tell us when your appearance or your next appearance will be here. But we already talked about this movement is something that has to have a platform on the Pan African Daily TV at least twice a month. When we have these kind of opportunities, we don't put them. No CNN or BBC or whatever will talk about it. It is us. We have to make so much noise about it to reach out to every African anywhere on the planet. The Pan-African Federalist movement is the structure upon which we can all settle, the umbrella. And then now we can start looking, where do we select and put what? Yes. So I'm opening up the lines because I already know there's a lot. There's a lot of people who want to actually address questions. Today is a Saturday evening or afternoon out there to you. If there are people that are willing to call, please call our WhatsApp number +49 1578 211 2379. I had to suppress the rolling stream so that we can get all of you in this beautiful atmosphere that we have now. If we had to put the number rolling, then it's going to be limited. You want to say something?
While you wait for calls to come in, I just want Baba G Way to note that his hat collection is being very much admired.
I really wanted to say that.
I'm seeing comments all over the thread about your hats. And your age and your hats are being admired, Baba.
I was still coming to that, honestly. Baba Jiwe, are you hearing us?
I think you're on mute, Baba.
Baba Jiwe.
I will say this, I grew up in Harlem. All I would say is that if you see anything up there that you like, you can have it for a price.
Okay.
I got rent to pay, you know.
Oh, okay.
And
All right. Well, that's not. I mean, I see a few I like too, but that's coming from the thread on the side. I'm just letting you know.
Everybody likes this.
So any bids, any offers, please send them to gwaypad@g.
I'm gonna have to hold an auction.
Well, I'm here. I'm here, Baba.
But all jokes aside, though, one of the things that I wanted to just bring forth is that you know, there is something that is happening on a cosmic level. There is a certain collective consciousness that really makes for world change. And in my heart and sincerely, I feel that our ancestors, as well as our collective community, is reached a level of critical mass that this is going to result in a major shift in the paradigm that we've been experiencing for hundreds of years. And I think that shift is going to include the creation of a truly united African states. And that is going to result in the true regaining of our African sovereignty, right? So I'm very confident that I'll be around to see some major changes. I mean, let's face it, I've lived to see the fall of apartheid in South Africa, which is something I never thought would happen in my lifetime. I lived to see the fall of the Soviet bloc, which was something I would have never believed possible in my lifetime. I've seen the election of a black president in the United States, something I never would believe it would happen in my lifetime. You see, and now I'm very strongly feeling that as I'm on the verge, we may actually see the first African woman president of the United States. That's a very possible eventuality. And the other thing that I want to stress, and I really fervently feel when Brother Jumai always says this, every time we make a presentation, he points out that the first president of the United African States would be a woman. And that is something that would be awesome. So, you know, all I can say is Manla, day two. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep the love. You know, I'm working out of love for my people now, and this is the most enjoyable work that I've done in my entire life. You know, I was an educator for 20 years in the field of engineering, so I have a lot of experience in that field. But to be able to now devote most of my time to this movement it makes me feel very, very happy. And I thank you for giving us this platform. And I thank you for your magnificent work, that you continue what you have been doing to support not only our movement, but all of the movements in our community. I thank you very much.
Ashe. Thank you too. Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you
are
so
you,
much. I'm going back to Baba Jume. Now you can see that we are almost dressed alike, isn't it? Does somebody want to guess why? It is, I didn't even know that he would be in these colors. And like it's a coincidence. And a lot of people are definitely wondering. If you see these colors, then you can think about Bamenda. And so you can call me the Bamenda girl. And then you begin to know that history, what is actually going on in Southern Cameroon. I am the daughter of there. And so it's like we are commemorating, the struggle of the Southern Cameroonians, people and women that have been killed, murdered, incarcerated, and putting on and actually, in the future, you would only see me in these colors. And so you can always call us the Bamenda girls when you see these attires. It is worldwide. it is celebrated. Any person you see putting on this, I know Brother Jumei, nous sommes les voisins du Sénégal quand même, but I know
No,
that
I got this from
yes,
Cameroon.
I know.
I got this from Cameroon.
Thank you so very much.
And Bamenda, I love Bamenda.
Good. Yes, I
and
know.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. One of the people who inspired me, is Cameroonian, Dr. Osende Afana, and then we went to many others who, of course, when you talk about Menda, you talk about my heart. It's played a very major role in the fight for African independence.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you that have been watching, and thank you for signing in. Thank you for your wonderful comments. I mean, I think anything that is just good, we didn't even have to have a call. So it's very obvious that we are all satisfied. We're paying enough respect to this team that is right here. And Brother Mitchell, we're going to draw the program. Anything that is for the liberation and the unity of the African has a space on the Pan-African Daily. It is for this purpose that we were created or even brought into this dimension, and we would diligently serve our people. I mean, we are race loyal in every aspect, and we put our people first. Put our people first for every other thing, before every other thing. So I want to thank all of you for your sacrifice, your engagement, your volunteerism. The spirit of this United Africa is alive, and we're going to push this agenda. Like I said, we're going to make so much noise. See also bloggers and YouTubers and others that are here and that are listening to this message, pick this movement and hold it so close to your heart. Anything that our ancestors have given us through God the Creator, it is our time. Now, it's not just for the creator or the initiative, the 4 persons, but it's for the African to embrace it and hold it like an identity and spread it all over the world. So we thank you so very much for your support. I'm picking up this call. Definitely. Hello.
Yes, blessed day.
Blessed. Thank you so much, brother. Welcome. Yes.
Yes, brothers. I can't ask everybody the question and try to segregate, what I have to say, but I just want to commend the brothers because we are in tyranny. And I know y'all brothers know that, especially black brothers and sisters in the Americas. But here in the Caribbean, where I'm calling from, actually from Barbados, and as a Jamaican that moving among my peoples here in the Caribbean, what I just seen or listened, this is it.
Yes.
And I hope the brothers is working with the sisters because we need the sisters. A lot of people come in, we have to bring the sisters to balance it because we're winning this fight. A lot of people might think we're not, but we are winning. And as I say, what I've seen right here, this is history. This is the day the youths have to understand before these elders pass, even myself, yourself, we have to set that structure so the tyranny can be broken.
Yes.
And whatever they've been doing to us, should I say, segregating us and putting things. Say, for instance, a lot of blacks here in the Caribbean want to go to Africa. Africans, everybody have an agenda. I don't want to go there, or we don't want them there. But I hope we are on one agenda to win this fight, to unite our youths, as you said, the brother said, and this is the major part of it. Without the youths and the women, we are not able to move forward. So, brothers and sisters Susan, thank you very much, man. You make the Sabbath a great day. And not only that, you're making the world a great day, especially our people, our race, blood and flesh. We're not calling them names, but our blood and flesh is ready. We are ready for this. Don't matter the numbers. The numbers doesn't matter to us. Many are called and few are chosen, but we are doing what the ancestors asked us to do. And thank you, brothers, man. Especially, I want the black Americans to wake up. They have to wake up. It doesn't matter if we have to move. It's not about moving to Africa, to Jamaica, to Barbados. It's about we stay on ground and control what our ancestors has left for us. This is not clear. We know that, but we just want the unity. We want the togetherness. And one thing I can ask, and I'm not begging, I can ask, and I know change there. When I question, just do what we're doing, and it's going to go through. Don't question nothing. Just do it. We're ready. Have a good day, brothers and sisters, and Africa and the world.
Wow. Thank you so much, Son of Africa. Thank you. Over to you, But when you hear such feedbacks and that power and that energy, we're ready.
It makes me smile in my heart, and it makes me think of Thomas Sankara, where it he must be certainly smiling in his from the ancestors' kingdom, because he loved nothing more than African people who are conscious of their duty to free Africans by uniting, because we are only dominated because we are not united. We are only, and the imperialists know that. They know that we divided, we are weak, but united, we are a force to be reckoned with in the world, and we control our destiny. So that's really wonderful to hear. And that brother from Barbados who's talking, there is a committee, in fact, in the Caribbean. And if he sent you the information, I could connect him with the regional coordinator of the Caribbean, and yes, exactly. And it's yes, this is it. It's no longer, like Brother Asukile said, this is not another organization. This is just a coalition of anyone who wants African unity. Let's come and talk and see how we're going to move forward. That's all. Because the whole mandate of this committee is to organize a Congress of African people, an organization who are ready to invest their time and energy in finishing what was started with Garvey, what was started with Kwame Nkrumah and Du Bois and them and all of them. What, many like Kulumumba, like Boganda, like Modibo Keita and Sekou Touré have died for. And so let's finish the job that is started. The time is now. Like they say in my language, opportunity is like a wind. It passes really fast. And the opportunity is now. The time is now. No generation have been offered more opportunity to finish what they started than our generation.
Brother Asukele, do you just want to remind the programs again coming up so soon? I mean, we've talked a lot of things that we don't get it out of touch. Can you just give one closing? I know Baba Joe would close it officially, but
I just want to add something so we can be clear. It didn't just start with Garvey, Baba, because we have to remember those who preceded Garvey, those who preceded Booker T. Washington, because Booker T. Washington was an Africanist. We're talking about Henry Highland Garnett, speak his name. We're talking about H. Sylvester Williams, let's speak his name. Right, we're talking about Martin R. Delaney. We need to speak his name. And then there's sisters of whom I don't know the names, and we need more of that information, because I wrote a note to myself 2 weeks ago. Where are the Pan-African women? We know about Queen Mother Moore and those, Amy Ashford Garvey, Amy Jakes Garvey, but where are the women that preceded them? There's not been a time amongst African peoples, and this is why we need to be clear when we talk to our youth about our history. There's never been a time that our ancestors did not claim their Africanness. Even the most uneducated of us that only had maybe a 4th grade education down south, they always talked about the sable ones, the Ethiopians. They refer to them in the Bible, the Ethiopians and all the other different black people that are in the Bible. They from Africa. Our ancestors have always claimed Africa. So this trying to find us being ADOS and FBA and just strictly to this land is a false narrative. So that we need our young people to understand that our ancestors always claimed their Africanness, even when we had contradictions because of color and the paper bag test and the blue vein society and all this. There were those who strived towards whiteness, but most of the people still strive towards their African ancestors and paying honor and tribute to them. So we need to be clear when we talk about Pan-Africanism, African nationalism, Black nationalism. So I see somebody in the thread wrote something about the NAACP being kind of, what we call in America being Negroes. And that's an incomplete analysis, as Dr. Jeffries would say. In the NAACP, there have always been assimilationists, but there have always been grassroots activists also, and there's been a opposition between the two forces to in doing the work for our people. Some people are fine with defining themselves as Americans and living in American context, but there are those who define themselves also in the NAACP and CORE and all these different other organizations as African people or as Black people, as they might have said in the 70s, with Black meaning African people across the world, across the diaspora, in unification with each other. So there are different forces in the NAACP. It's not just the Negro elite that we may see in front of the cameras all the time. We must remember that our brother, what was his name? Robert, the Negroes with Guns, our brother from the South that organized the gun clubs to defend the civil rights leaders. There's a book called Negroes with Guns about him. His name is Robert, and I can't remember the last name right now. But he was in the NAACP. Fred Hampton was in the NAACP. Now, we know Fred Hampton wasn't a quote-unquote Negro. So to say that is just to throw out an incomplete analysis. So I'm going to ask that those of my age and elders that think in the way that our ancestors, or as my grandmother said, think before you speak, think before you write, do my art, bring my art into existence, speak my art, think my art, do my art. Don't create chaos. Don't create incomplete analysis and share it to people as if it's facts. All right. There's a duality and there's opposition and different forces going on at work in our community. We need to understand those if we're going to be able to move, not just here in America, but across the world. We need to understand what those opposing forces are and how we need to move. And we need to call on, as I always say, call on our Creator and call on our ancestors and the forces, spiritual forces that support the work of the Creator to help us to do what we have to do. But back to your question now. So tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the African Youth Town Hall. And you're going to put the flyer up on your, you have a WhatsApp group for people to follow?
Yes. We share it.
Okay. So yeah, tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you could break that down into whatever time zone you are in, family. We'll be having our town hall with a libation, with performances by young people, hip hop artists and spoken word artists. We'll have the youth town hall, which is the most vital component of it, to allow our youth, those 35 and under, to speak about what's on their mind and interact. And as I said, we are Africans, so we certainly welcome the entire African family, African elders to participate and join us and listen to what our youth have to say. And even those who may be really young, we want you to speak too, because we are creating, as Brother Smalls would say, the youth are not our future. We are the youth's future. The youth is the future for the generations that come after them. So we want to create a new future for them and help them to create a new future, a new reality for the young people that will come after them. And so please join us, family, on that day. And then on May 19th, please join us again virtually as we pay tribute to Malcolm X, and that will start approximately about 10:30, 11 o'clock online, and we'll have it on Facebook. And as I said, I'll share the link. I'll share the event page with you, sister. And if we need to do something special behind the scenes, we'll work that out so they can show on Pan African Daily TV. But we want the whole family to help us to remember our shining Black Prince, as we do annually since the year of his tragic assassination. And we also, by the way, pay tribute to Sister Betty, who was right there with him in the grave. So Malcolm, some of the best examples that I know in my life. Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Professor James Small, and Dr. Carol Tundu Small are some of the best. I love seeing male and female working together in our family, in the tradition that I've been blessed to see. Most of my brothers in the Sons of Africa have been married 20 or so years. I'm single, ladies. but seriously, most of my brothers in the Sons of Africa have been married going on 20 years, if not longer. And so it's a blessing for me to be able to see all these beautiful African men and women working together to build families and Now some of them are sending their children through. Actually, one has a son working with the Obama Foundation. Another one, their daughter just graduated, but these kids are growing up fast. I'm watching them grow. I've been blessed to see them from when they were in the womb, and now they're walking around, some taller than me. And it's been a pleasure to be part of this process of African life and growth and development.
Yeah, but you're single? Is that what? I just want to get that clear. Are you single?
Yes, I am single. I'm single.
Noted. We're noting. Noted. Yeah.
Right, and
Okay.
somebody is saying the continuity of the diaspora. Malcolm's mother was Grenadian. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Baba G, Baba Jumai, did I miss the date? I just want to remind you all: November, August 15th and November 21st.
Absolutely.
Save those dates on the calendar.
Yeah, yeah. And, of course, the Congress, it's good to remind people that the Congress is 2020-23. And, Doctor, can you guys hear me? Yeah, what I wanted to say is that anyone who is listening can start a local committee wherever you are. Wherever you are, you could start a local committee, whether it is at your school or at your workplace. 5 Africans, you could start to prepare yourself, and then in your environment, reach out to organizations of Africans in your area and form a local committee wherever you are. Liberation is a collective action. It is not an individual. There is no individual who could liberate the people. And yes, Baba, Brother Charles, you are right. Indeed, it didn't start with Marcus Garvey. The fight to regain our sovereignty started way, 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 way back, way, way back before Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey came to America to try to see how he could implement what Booker T. Washington is doing, So way before that, it happened. So the fundamental, this is what also I wanted to clarify about the Pan-African Federalist movement. See, the Pan-African movement, its goal is the restoration of the sovereignty of African people. That's what the Pan-African movement is for. Now, the Pan-African Federalist movement, there are many steps to get to there. The civil rights movement was restoration of one person. The anti-apartheid movement, the independent movement were all for the restoration of them. But the Pan-African Federalist movement is to finish all of these, the work that was started with all of these movements, from the anti-slavery movement to now, to the anti-neocolonial movement, to put African people's train on the right track towards the march towards the African Renaissance. That's fundamentally the thing. The Pan-African movement it doesn't usually have an agenda that is specific. It has a strategical goal, which is African Renaissance. How do we get there? We have to use different medium, and the Pan-African Federalism is one of those mediums.
Okay.
Today.
A question that is also floating. I see my sister Carrie Banks write as, is Brother Faye single? I mean, we just need to get a check. We're doing the tracking. Yeah, a lot of sisters are single, and we want to build the family first, and then we move to the unity. We need to start at home, and then we all continue. So,
Brother Faye is married as the father of 4 wonderful boys. I love them.
All right, we're not noting you. You're already gone. And Baba Diwe.
Well, I happen to be a single married man of my beautiful wife of 10 years, Sister Tyoma. Right here. She can't come to screen, but no, I'm very well married and very well trained as well.
The next show that we'll be doing, the queens are already asking. We want to know all the singles in the revolution. I mean, queens are out there asking. We need to start knowing the warriors that are single, because they need the support of the queens. Exactly, also the queens that are single that will be looking. That's a very important aspect, because we know that our division or something was never of our making. It was just a plan to keep us also disunited. So we want to build back our families and put this harmony between us, because the unity starts first in our homes, and then we can take it to the continental level. So we also will be doing those shows, and all our brave warriors. I mean, from 20 to 80, 90. Please, if you're single, make sure you drop your contact on the Pan African Daily TV. We're going to be doing this things here to showcase, so that we first of all, grab the ones that are lonely, like Babaji would say, and train them, to be. I love that. So no, it was a great show, guys. I mean, I thank
And,
you so much, my elders.
my sister, could I say something? I'm up against it with these two brethren because there's some serious orators. But on a serious note, as the coordinator of this New York State committee, I see my challenge. One of my greatest challenges is to um, provide the kind of leadership that can negotiate through the diverse points of view that are strongly present in our community. I see my role as one of really charting a path whereby I can keep that diversity working in a positive way. Because one, if there's nothing true about us as a people, one thing is true: we do have a tendency to be very individualistic and very single-minded in our points of view. So one of the things that I often say at a meeting and during a discussion is that, look, it's not a question of either or. It's not a question of which one is right. It's a question of, can we work together all for a common goal? We may have to travel different paths. We may have different methodologies. We may have even different philosophies about life. But when it comes down to the prize, let's keep our eye on the prize, and that is the true unification of African people around the world under one unified governmental structure that becomes a world power, not just a small state. So this is my task. Is let me weave the diversities together and get everybody moving in one common direction. There is something called a laser. The difference between laser light and regular light is that laser light is coherent. This is what makes a laser beam so powerful. Is that you don't have different light photons vibrating individually. They're all vibrating at the same frequency. So that's how I see my role as a coordinator, is to take all of these diverse energies and diverse thrusts and coordinate them in such a way so that we're all moving in the same direction with the same kind of power. And if that can happen, then I have no doubt that we're going to be successful in seeing this United African States become a reality by the year 2030. That's all I really wanted to say. Again, for the platform, for this was for filling in all of the details, and I look forward to having some new members come out of this presentation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that final word. And thank you so much for coming, my elders. It is a privilege to be in your presence. I mean, which children of the world are so much blessed as the African children, whom sit around with their elders and they pass this love, like the village and the community would always sit together, gather, they sing, they eat, they pray, they dance, they cry together. So for us on the Pan African Daily TV, we don't have politics or what. It's about what Africa is, and it is a spirit. It is a spirit of love and unity. Ubuntu is a spirit, and we Africans are spiritual. When we say we're spiritual, we're humans. And so, whether we like or not, we will unite. We must unite. We must function because the umbilical cord of the continent of our ancestors was built on love. God created us, gave us melanin, and melanin is love. And all of us have it in us. Whether we're going to get political agendas or what, those are internal things. But the basic of Mother Africa and the creator of the universe is love. And nobody is bigger than that. So I want to thank you that we come in the name of love of our ancestors and the God of Creator to say we are united. Now we're just only talking about different diversities, but our core is not to say we were united before we even came to this dimension. But somebody stole that unity, our love from us. And now God is just restoring us, the Creator, through our ancestors, bringing back the resurrection in every form. And so each and every one of us is an ancestor that came back to finish the work. So I want to thank you. And as in every aspect, it's only about humility. You can get love when you're not humble. Doesn't matter what kind of functions. Love, humility, respect, every other thing falls under love. So we want to bring you the love of our ancestors, our mothers, the creators, and we say we are united. We're united even after, and we will always come back. So I thank you. We're looking forward to have this celebration. We are not live tomorrow. Pan-African TV is off on Sundays and Mondays, but we'll be sharing a lot of content with you. And so we want to stay in contact and connected to our brothers who will be celebrating tomorrow in the town hall. We're calling on every one of you, to tune in there either virtually. If you're around the city in New York State, make sure you join the young people to give them that love, particularly us mothers. Mothers, it is our duty. That was why God created us. Love, love, love. It doesn't matter. That's our duty. Just give it. Yeah. So we need to support our young people. We need to support our kings. We need to support this process, irrespective of what God has given us so much love, and we will never run dry of it. Yeah, to share. So I thank you. We'll be following up upcoming events, and I wish us all good night. And we stay blessed in our respective areas, and we see us again anytime soon. We stay in touch. Bye bye.
I see.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.